What is up, guys? So apparently, the Weeknd security stepped to DJ Akademiks at the Weeknd's concert. So the story goes, the Weeknd's assistant is the one that sent DJ Akademiks an invitation and tickets to come attend the Weeknd's concert in New York City. Now, whilst he's attending the concert, the Weeknd security and Cash XO security, Cash XO being the manager of the Weeknd, their security tried to confront DJ Akademiks about leaking the Weeknd's address online. Because if you guys remember, I think it was the Weeknd security that got shot in LA after Drake's security got shot in Toronto. So there's some internal Toronto beef. The Weeknd being from Toronto, Drake being from Toronto, and apparently these individuals, Cash XO, who's the manager of the Weeknd and the whole XO group, apparently these individuals have some street connections in Toronto, and there's some beef that goes way back to when the Weeknd sold his first album to Drake, and that album being ended up being the majority of Drake's first album, that lovey-dovey bullshit he put out. Now, if you guys remember, The Weeknd and Drake had sort of a similar sound, and they were both coming out new. And apparently The Weeknd had already recorded an album, and he had already, written the lyrics and the sound of it and everything, but he took that album and he sold it to Drake. So apparently, half of the Take Care album by Drake was written by The Weeknd, and he was gonna it was gonna be part of The Weeknd's own album. But because The Weeknd was desperate, apparently he sold it to Drake, and from that point on, there's always been some type of animosity between The Weeknd and Drake, and both these camps have some association to individuals in the street. In one of The Weeknd's recent songs, he talks about your top shotter is making TikToks, and when he's referring to some of Drake's shooters in Toronto making TikToks. So apparently there's some real violent beef between The Weeknd and Drake. Now somehow Akademiks got himself caught up in all this because during that whole Kendrick and Drake beef, of course, Akademiks took the Drake side, and he was, doing all sorts of things that were in support of Drake. So the Weeknd's clique assumed that DJ Akademiks was a part of that clique that was associated with the Drake clique and the gangsters that work for Drake or that are associated with Drake. And so they confronted him at this concert, but he told them that it was The Weeknd that invited me here, and the whole thing settled down. And then I think it was Cash XO, The Weeknd's manager, who brought him a bottle of Don Julio, and whatever, he had a fun night. So anyway, I was thinking about this, and I was like, this has to be the dumbest beef in hip-hop, because not one person, none of the fan bases for The Weeknd or Drake are gangsters, right? Like, if you think about 50 Cent and Ja Rule, 50 Cent, his entire fan base, and not entire, but his entire appeal was based on this gangster image. So when people turned on that 50 Cent album, Get Rich or Die Trying, they were looking for gangsterism, right? That was a big part of 50 Cent's image. That's how he sold tickets, and that's what made him appealing. And genuinely, 50 Cent came from a genuine street background. I mean, he was down there in the streets in New York City back when Supreme was operating, and that's how 50 Cent got into a beef with Supreme and then Ja Rule and Irv Gotti and Murder Inc. Now, if you look at The Weeknd and Drake, none of their fan bases are based on any sort of gangsterism. The Weeknd just dropped probably, if not his best album, one of his best albums. The Weeknd's new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, is one of the best. It's certainly probably the best album of the year. All right, whatever year that album dropped, it's one of the best albums of the year. It's incredible. I love that song Sao Paulo. I love that song Cry for Me, and so many other songs, Reflections, and all of that. The Drake, on the other hand, he had a very bad year, but nevertheless, all their fan bases are basically chicks, bruh. They're basically chicks. You know what I mean? And so it's just absurd for these individuals to be beefing like this. The Weeknd bought like $100 million home in LA. Drake built $100 million home in Toronto. I mean, these guys are rich. They have a lot going on. It sounds like one of the dumbest beefs, but both of them had security shot at, right? The Weeknd has his security shot at, and I think his security actually got shot outside his home in LA. And Drake had his security actually shot outside his home in Toronto. I mean, this stuff is real. Imagine getting implicated in this stupid shit, and you got a $1 billion empire. I mean, these guys to this day, especially The Weeknd, they can do a tour and gross probably like $1 billion. If they do a world tour, especially The Weeknd, he could probably gross $1 billion, right? We're talking Taylor Swift numbers. Drake, on the other hand, his situation right now is not the best, but I think he can still tour, and I mean, certainly people are still going to show up. He's giving it a little time. I think he's working on an album and a sound in some type of way to kind of get back to where he was. But The Weeknd, man, he's got so much to lose, bruh. The Weeknd used to be homeless, walking the streets, doing a bunch of drugs. He changed his life around. Now he's this pop star extraordinaire, man. From Toronto, just a low down dude from Toronto to now being a pop star extraordinaire. The Weeknd is a hit like you can't believe. After album after album after album of hits, man. Every time The Weeknd comes out, he's got #1 hits. It's incredible, right? Drake also very rich, very successful. It sounds like one of the dumbest beefs in hip hop / R&B / urban culture, right? These guys have everything going on for them, and they're behaving like they're fucking Ja Rule and 50 Cent. It sounds like the dumbest shit you could ever imagine. But I just wanted to show and just discuss that this is probably the dumbest beef in urban culture, right? Two major pop stars from the urban culture who could be doing anything else in the world are beefing with one another, and they're both from Toronto. It's crazy, guys. Let me know what you think. It looked like DJ Akademiks was sort of copping pleas. You can check out his video on the King Akademiks channel where he discusses it, and you can kind of see he's being a real nice guy. I don't think DJ Ak really has it in him to be involved in this kind of shit, and I wouldn't want to be involved in this kind of shit, man. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Crazy beef, man. Peace.